Hey, this is your boy Jay Steve from the Soul Fresh Podcast. And before we get started, make sure you go to YouTube, smash that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Now that that's out the way, let's get it.
Welcome back to the Soul Fresh Podcast. I'm your host, BK.
And I'm your host, Jay Steve.
What up, Jay Steve?
Welcome to 2023.
2023.
Welcome 2023, all of y'all as well.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What's poppin', Jay Steve?
Just basically this is a reflection of the last year that we've had coming into this year, 2023. Seeing how people are feeling and trying to gauge the emotions, the feelings of everyone, you, me, people close to us or whatnot. See if they're doing better. Like one big question, how is your mental health or whatnot holding up compared to last year at this time?
So I'm doing a whole lot better only because of certain things that I've been intentionally doing, which is taking more breaks, relaxing and not overthinking. Because as we talked about on the first podcast, because as you can see, we're going to continue to have this conversation on mental health and anxiety, specifically when I'm talking, because mental health goes under so many umbrellas. Right. But I know a lot of times we focus on anxiety because we have both dealt with it. Because during the pandemic, as you know, it jumped on me. I'm like, man, what is this going on? And I'll go back and tell some of those stories or whatnot as far as how I identified it and how I dealt with it. So as far as if you compare last year to this year, it's a lot much better because one of my New Year's resolutions for last year, if you remember on the podcast, was saying no. No. Forcing myself to do things that I don't want to do because I always felt like, I have a hustling mentality. So I'm always like, hey, I need you to do this. Like, all right, I'll do it. Even if it's for some money or whatever. But also just telling, family and friends or whatnot, sometimes you just got to say no. Like, I don't feel like it because I don't want to put more on my plate than I can handle and dealing with stress or whatnot. And I noticed that one of the things that was like a trigger for me was doing too much or feeling anxious or rushed,
And to piggyback off what you were saying about the no.
Yeah.
First, you have to start learning how to say it and then be comfortable while you're saying it. Because once you first start doing it, it's like,
I feel guilty.
Yeah, I feel guilty. I feel bad. Did I hurt their feelings?
Let me call that person back.
Yeah. What? Maybe I can do it. But then at the same time,
that's a good point. Yeah.
When you're doing the task that you originally probably said no to, you find yourself sometimes saying, dang, I should have just said no.
Yeah.
But that's how it is sometimes. But like you were saying, from one year to another, mental health growth is a thing.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So I feel personally as well that my mental health, especially this time last year, we were coming on our first podcast for 2022. What were we both dealing with? Deaths.
Yeah.
Tragedy.
No, 2021.
Yeah, but
when we was doing the audio.
Right, but 2022, January of last year, my cousin had just passed.
We dealt with a lot. Yeah,
right. And
you're right. Yep.
And a year later, reflecting back on that, you think about it sometimes like, wow, it has been a year since those tragedies have happened. But it's kind of like we said last year, we're going to use this to strengthen ourselves, to carry on to get better. And here we are in 2023. And I believe, personally, I don't know about you, I don't know about y'all, I hope y'all feel the same way, we're a little bit better.
Yeah, and
we're doing a little bit better.
Sometimes it's the simple things. Like for me, it's the simple things, something that my wife encouraged me to do because I'm a tech guy. So I like my gadgets.
Yes.
So when it comes to being organized, I used to love to try to put all my appointments, all my scheduling. We got several different little businesses going on. So I would always try to keep track of that, but I was always still kind of missing appointments in my phone because if I'm doing something on my phone and I see the alert pop up, I'll just swipe it. Like that's annoying.
Yeah.
So
like get out my way.
It's the simple things that kind of help me navigate through 2022 as far as a certain level of focus, which I got this organizer. My wife kept saying, you need to get this organizer. You need to get an organizer. It'd be better when you just like physically write stuff down.
Right.
And so this organizer that I got, If I remember the name of it, I'll go ahead and put it out there. It's really dope. But it's not only an organizer, but it's a life planner. So you can write down your goals,
right?
And base it on by the week. So like, what did you accomplish this week, and what did you lack this week?
So, quick question, and maybe some of the viewers would like to know, the organizer that you got, how helpful would it be for the regular normal person who doesn't probably have as much on their plate as you do, having to juggle your career and all your different hustles and irons in the fire? What about for the regular person?
Actually, that's the thing, is for anybody, just basically putting your life down on paper and then actually taking a sit down and taking a time out to analyze, like, what's going on in my day-to-day, what's going on in my life. And then what I like about it, it has a recap at the end of that month where you fill out information. And then you can really, if you're really taking an investment in your life and wanting to kind of sort things out, you can go and look at that, what you wrote, and then maybe compare February with January. Like, okay, so what did I do? I said I was going to read 2 books this month. I didn't. And then it asks you a question like, well, what held you back from accomplishing these particular goals? And also, in order to do this, you have to be in your truth. You have to be honest.
In fact, in evaluating yourself.
Right. So I'm actually trying to be honest. Like, I spent too much time binging TV shows, or I spent too much time on my phone or whatnot. Where that time that I was sitting there binging Kaleidoscope, which we'll probably touch bases on, I probably could have been reading one of my books that I said. Now, that's not the case, but that was the case this month. So I mean, in the past. So new year, get a chance to do it again or whatever. So I've been a little bit more focused, where I've been picking up my book more instead of picking up the remote. Don't get me wrong. I love my TV.
Yes,
I love TV.
We do love our TV.
Because that's my quiet time. That's my relaxed time.
It's your vice almost.
Yeah.
It is a certain vice. People don't realize television, Netflix, and all that, Hulu's, and it's a vice for some people. I mean, some people literally will sit there and binge stuff all day long, but
how I move though, with I'm going to work sometimes, or raising a family, then factoring is so much that you got to factor in,
right?
Spending time with my wife and trying to balance a marriage, and these are not excuses, and then balance 3 kids that are all still at an age where they need to be monitored,
right?
And
still need guidance
and guided and structured, and then squeeze in a little time for me. So sometimes when I am not doing anything and it's like, everybody's asleep, that's my time to say, okay, let me go ahead and watch a little TV, and that's just my quiet time. Kick my feet up. Drink some tea or whatever, and then just kick back with no interruptions and just, finally.
But it kind of like, it touches on, I guess, personally, I guess a little bit too. We all have vices.
Yeah.
And sometimes certain vices we have to put down. So let's just put it that way. Like, certain things you just have to stop doing.
It's crazy though. I'll put a vice down and pick another one up.
That is true. But
oh boy, that's my struggle.
Hey, this is much better.
Yeah.
This is much better.
But I've made progress. But when we're talking about the progress though, just being evaluating myself more and evaluating myself and not letting things aggravate me. I started trying to point out and write down. Also, I've been journaling too, so I've been trying to write stuff down and evaluating myself more and figure out what are those triggers.
Like, right.
Me being aggravated. If I get aggravated, I notice that I'm getting that anxious feeling probably because I'm aggravated. That's a trigger. And then so I started kind of identifying those triggers. And then now I'm able to go head on with it. So therefore, in the last couple of years or whatever, I've been less likely to, freak out, because let's go ahead and talk about the beginning and the anxiety or whatever, because I think the last time we talked about it was audio or whatever, so we've never really been that direct.
No,
we've had certain people onto the podcast to actually, help us talk about it. And then, of course, we are bringing like some therapists on or whatnot to have these candid conversations about anxiety and mental health or whatnot. But
and we got the numbers and stuff too.
Yeah, and what was my issue was I go to the doctor a lot. You make
sure you take care.
I always make sure I take care of my stuff. I've always been doing that. But the doctor I was seeing, I felt like every time I would go, I was like, man, I've been like feeling like I'm having a heart attack. And this was like 2020.
Right, when it first jumped off.
Kept going to the ER, kept going to the doctor, and everybody kept saying, Mr. King, you're fine. Everything's
no,
good.
I'm not.
No, I'm not. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. Like muscles jumping, sweating, bubble guts, everything, all the symptoms.
And see, some people, they didn't see us back then. So we, like you said, we're visual now.
Yeah.
People, let me tell y'all, anxiety is a real thing. This man right here didn't believe I had it since 2005 when I first had my first panic attack. Everybody like, man, you good, man. Anxiety, man, you shake that off. What you talking about, man?
Yeah, because you know what? We wouldn't having these discussions. And so I never even knew the symptoms because I used to hear about it here and there. Like, I got anxiety. I don't know what that means.
Maybe I was one of the first people that you were around that actually had PTSD because I was coming.
That too. And I knew a couple of girls that would always say, I got anxiety, but I don't really know what that means. And I'm going to be honest with you. When they used to say it, I'm like, nah, she just looked crazy. She
need to put them pills down.
You need to put them pills down. You just need to chill out.
Get off them Adderall.
So, but
let me
stop abusing those Adderalls. Yeah. So, but when I started going through it,
I turned so red.
And when I started going through it, it was like, okay, this is a real thing. But I still don't know what's going on yet. I'm still just going to the doctor, still going to the ER.
Yep.
And then finally I was like, you know what? This is when you got to get people who are going to advocate for you, and you got to you got to figure out what is best for you. And keep in mind, I've been going to this doctor for years, since like 20.
But was this still the time before? This was just regular physician. This hadn't even gone to the therapeutic side yet.
No.
Right.
This is just
this is the beginning stages.
This is just a regular physician.
Right.
My regular physician. Because, anytime you go to the ER, what are they going to tell you?
Yeah, you need to go see.
Follow up with your primary care.
Right.
So I would do that. I'm like, all right, went to the doctor, got an EKG, all that. Everything's fine. Need you to do your thing. Whatever it is that you do, that you get paid a lot of money for, figure it out. Everything's fine, Mr. King. Pay this copay and bounce.
Right.
So
I don't feel no better though.
Right. I don't feel better. I still feeling a little jittery all day. Why am I feeling jittery? Because I was like, am I diabetic? Or am I this? Am I that? Like, why am I jittery?
But so what was the next step?
The next step was get a new doctor. So I got a new doctor.
Always remember, people.
Advocate for yourself.
Second opinion.
Yeah, second opinion.
From the jump, always. That's something I had to learn too.
Got a completely new doctor.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird leaving because I felt at home there because this has been my doctor for a long time. He knows me.
Right.
But I don't feel like he
personal.
was right. But I don't really feel like he was taking the best interest in what I was saying because, like, look, if you're not willing to sit down while I'm talking to you, and this appointment is only lasting like 7 minutes or 8 minutes, and it's like, oh, you're fine, here, boom.
Yeah.
New doctor. So I went to a new doctor, and immediately he sat down. We actually having a conversation, and he's like, hey, are you dealing with this? Is this happening? Is this happening?
Right.
Is this happening? Is
the
this
real
happening?
question.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Does this happen when this happens? Yeah, it does. He's like, Mr. King, sounds like you got anxiety. Well, what the hell is that?
Right.
Sounds like you're having panic attacks. Panic attacks? I don't have panic attacks. You know what I mean?
And
I'm not breathing through a bag or whatever.
Then you realize I've been having them.
But then when we started actually having a conversation and diving into it, I'm like, you know what? I do freak out when I'm thinking about this. And then you gotta remember, at this time, I believe, what I later found out was the anxiety might have already been there. It just took the pandemic. It was like already boiling.
Yeah.
You know when you hear the stove start sizzling and it's falling. When the pandemic came and it was affecting me in a way of personal people were passing away, and it's like, and we wasn't having time to process those deaths because it was every week, bam, 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 every week.
So close to home.
And so then that's when it just boiled over, and then that's when every time I would think about stuff, because you got to understand, anxiety is what? The fear of anything.
Yeah. Just
fear of death.
That's the fear.
Fear. Just, fear. So
just fearing your own thoughts sometimes.
Yeah. And so I started freaking out when I would think about stuff, but not even unconsciously realizing that I'm thinking about it.
Right.
It's just a thought.
Right.
Or it might be the news. When you remember when the news was 24 hours a day, COVID. Just watching the news was a trigger.
On top of that, not just the COVID was happening.
George
Floyd. Deaths by the police.
Yeah, George Floyd.
Killing our people.
Yeah.
What else was going on at the same time? On top of that, still too though, the deaths from the pandemic, the deaths in the streets, and then you had people trying to learn how to cope
just being at home all day.
Being at home
all day.
Because
with kids.
Because think about this, and see, this is another thing we really didn't touch on, and when we were first getting started. I think what really happened, and it is true, a lot of people couldn't stand to actually be around the person that they thought they wanted to be around all the time until they had to be forced.
Yeah, yeah.
And you saw a lot of relationships ended during that pandemic, more than people want to give credit for.
A lot.
A lot of people say, "Oh no, man, that was just that was real."
And that was the least of my problems, honestly.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But think about different anxieties for other people.
I think being at home, just for me, not going out, not being around like friends,
because you're a busybody.
Yeah, and and I was working from home too.
Yeah.
Because family wise, it was cool. Like me and my wife, we wasn't beefing. Like I don't think we ever got in no argument.
But I'm saying your situation, you were more of you had the better of the situation. Yeah. I'm saying some people really, because people fighting. Got to think about also, the pandemic shut a lot of things down. But a lot of jobs lost.
Here's what I would say: if I was who I was in my 20s, it would have screwed me up. But the fact that over the last mid-30s till now, I had already started becoming a homebody anyways. Like, I'm good with just being at home with my family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. Like, I don't have to be out. My what they say, Andre 3000, my Cadillac already had slowed down to a nice speed. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I was good. So I think if I was who I was in my 20s. Or early 30s.
Yeah.
Like
might have been bugging out a little bit.
Yeah, like I'm trying to get somewhere. Like
but I was cool, you know what I'm saying? Plus, us Sages, we like to stay calm, under pressure as it is anyways. But especially getting older, like, man, we don't want to do nothing anyway.
Yeah, I'm good.
Leave me alone. I don't need to leave the house.
Yeah, like, come on out and drink. Like, nah, just come over here and drink on my back porch. I got a whole bar at the house.
Yeah, I got a whole backyard that's big with a screen and everything. You want to watch some movies?
I got a TV out here. Everything. Like,
you can be 6 feet over there. I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly.
We gonna be outside.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was to answer your question or whatnot. That was and
the
process.
Just looking back at that though, BK. So look at this. And mental health, it's always been around, but people really didn't start talking about it until, like you said, pandemic time around 2020, 2021, all those years. So the number of people looking for online help with their mental health increased from 2019 to 2021 during that time span.
Right.
In 2021, over 5.4 million people took a mental health screen, representing a nearly 500% increase over the number of people who completed a screening in 2019 and a 103% increase over 2020. Those are staggering numbers.
Yeah.
So going off that, do you kind of feel like maybe people really were starting to experience mental health for the first time? Or was it because of the news, social media, things like that presented and projected anxiety onto people because of what we were watching, like you said, the George Floyds and the deaths of people and the riots in the streets and so many other things that were happening?
I think a lot of it is kind of similar to what I was dealing with. You just needed that trigger. Mm-hmm. It's been there boiling. Mm-hmm. It's been there chilling. Like having a conversation with a therapist allowed me to also realize it's the sometimes simple things that you didn't recognize was anxiety that you just thought, it was that. So you remember when we was doing our music thing and we would go to a show and we would have a show in Atlanta or something. And
don't remind me.
I would get so nervous because I'm a background person. I don't even want to be here anyway.
Right.
I just want to make the music and then, hey, go listen to it.
Right.
I don't want to perform
especially during that time of your life. He was like, dude, I'm not a performer. Dude, I'm here.
I don't want to perform. So
that's what y'all
I would get this feeling inside of just, which they call it stage fright, but technically it's really anxiety.
Right.
So I would get, and then this is what I would have to do. I would always need to have 2 drinks before we go on show. I would get a straight drink, and then I would mix it with something.
Right.
And back then, that's when I was doing that Red Bull and vodka.
Yeah.
And so I would get 2 drinks, and then, I'd be like, man, I'm good now.
Yeah.
And then, but if you realize, this is how our entertainers and our artists develop these habits.
Right.
That's why they're mostly alcoholics or heroin addicts or
some type of vice that they had to get on.
Because you need that. You go on stage and you're dealing with people and you're presenting. For me, a person who is very critical of myself when it comes to my art, of whatever I'm doing, I'm very critical of myself. So it's not so much of I care what other people think. I care of how it presented. Like, is best work?
Right.
So I'm more focused on not my stage presence. Is anybody going to move? No, I don't care about that. Like me, I'm thinking in my ear, like, is the sound quality right?
Right. Because you're a perfectionist.
I'm listening to it while I'm spitting, but while I'm spitting on the mic, I still hear that speaker rattling. What does this sound like in the audience?
Right.
And it's racking my brain because it's pissing me off. So it's just those little things, but that's how we get into these vices.
But those little things like that are what teaches us how to handle bigger things later on.
Yeah.
Because when we look back on it now, oh man, that wasn't that, man. That was actually small potatoes, as they say.
Yeah.
Now you work for a big company where you could press the wrong damn button and you might shut a whole grid of a town down and they don't have no power for 3 hours. You could, I'm saying, like, that's how important your job actually is. So when you look back on it, things like that probably are more minuscule than they look now.
Yeah, and what the difference is between then and now is I drink, but I'm not a drinker like that. Well, when I'm just at home, I just pick up, start drinking.
Right.
I'm a social drinker. Like, I need to be around friends. I need to be laughing, talking.
And it need to taste good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can make a drink, but I'm just saying. So therefore, when it happened during 2020, 2021 or whatever, I didn't ever sit there and think to be like, let me go get a drink. So I never really had anything to pipe it down. So versus in the past, I would have a vice to pipe it down.
Right.
So therefore, I never thought that, okay, this is an issue. I fixed it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus fast forward, I wasn't doing anything to fix it. I was just wondering, like, why am I freaking out?
Right.
Why am I tripping? Riding down the street. I remember one time, dude, I had a panic attack riding down the road talking to you. Because we were sitting there talking about the situation, and I think I just told you, I was like, hey, man, I call you back, I gotta go.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah. But it was the fact that we were talking about it and talking about, like, death and just talking about the issue. I'm like, well, talking used to make it feel better, but not if I'm talking about the actual thing.
Right.
That doesn't make it feel better because now I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to talk to get my mind off of it.
Right.
But it wasn't your fault because you didn't really know. Because remember, I would just call because conversations would get my mind because it's all about the mind.
Yeah. Because
getting my mind off of it. And then but the fact that you were talking about it, I'm like, this is not helping. I'm freaking out. Hey, dude, gotta call you back.
Gotta call you back.
And then I pulled over.
But see, that's how I used to be. I would call you for stuff like that. You'd be like, so what's up? What you calling for? Like, dude, I just...
Oh, man, you say that like...
Yeah, you did say it like that.
No.
I mean...
Well, I'm a Sagittarius.
Yeah, but you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But sometimes I would call, just being transparent people. Sometimes I pick up the phone. I call my brother here and be like, hey, man, I ain't really calling you about nothing. I just... I'm headed somewhere and I just need to talk to somebody on the phone. See, back then, before he realized what anxiety and mental health issues were, he was thinking to himself, okay, Steve just want to talk because he like to talk because Steve like to run his mouth. I guess that's why I'm on the podcast, but it is what it is. But at the same time, I was calling this man because sometimes you need sometimes you don't want to say that you love your best friend or fellow man or whatnot, but I love this brother. So that's what it is. So I would call him like, hey man, just get me I just got off work, but I just need you to talk to me so I can make it to the house because I'm feeling jittery and my arms is tingling. I got goosebumps going on. What? My hair is, what I'm saying, like doing stuff like this, like, hey, dude,
I got them bubble guts.
Yeah. So just talk with me for a few minutes. All right, dog, I got you. And people, if you are dealing with mental health or anxiety, depression, whatever type of issues that you're dealing with, and you have somebody that you think you could possibly call but may not want to listen to what you have to say, call them anyways. Or look for someone who you can confide in and talk to whenever you're going through those sort of mental breaks. And remember, the mind is a powerful thing. It will make you think things are going wrong when they're probably not as bad as you really think they are.
Yeah. I'll tell you one story, which was a symptom and didn't realize it until I started having it more. So, of course, as you know, before I identified what it was, I kept calling the ambulance because I thought I was having a heart attack. Right. And, I'm working home by myself, so I'm by myself. So I'm really freaking out because worst fear. Don't want to just be sitting here laying on the carpet in the living room, laid out because can't nobody save me. So it's funny now in a sense. It's funny now, but it was dead serious. You were dead serious. So one time I called the ambulance. They get there. I opened the door and I told them, I said, "Hey, 1 second, I gotta take." The ambulance is they're in there with the stretcher and got their bags and stuff, and they're just out there just waiting. I'm in the bathroom getting it in.
We in the bathroom getting it in.
Hey. I get out the bathroom. Well, I get done. I'm in the mirror washing my hands, and then all I can think about in the mirror was, I feel real stupid right now because I'm good. I don't need them in the morning.
I just needed to use the bathroom.
Hey, the nerves that got me, I just had to take it. So I'm good now. So the whole time I'm thinking, now I got to walk out the bathroom to walk of shame.
Do you know how many times just a good solid bowel movement
would take
your anxiety away?
But that would be a symptom. Every time I would get it, like, man, my stomach will get messed up. And so
y'all don't laugh at us.
Now I gotta walk. You know how I got this long hallway out of that bathroom, right? So going to the front door. So now I got to do this walk of shame. So I'm kind of like walking to them like, and in my head I was like, well, I guess I got to go through this shit. I got to go through the motions. So now they got me laid on the stretcher. They pumping me up, doing the EKG. And how you doing, Mr. King? And I'm really good right now, but I got to go through it because I done called y'all here. I don't want to waste nobody's time, So that was just a funny little story because I felt real stupid. And then they were like, would you like to go ahead and go with us to the hospital? I was like, nah, I think I'm good right now. And I know they were probably like, this dude's full of crap. I think this dude's full of crap because BP is like 121/70. Blood pressure's good. Pulse is good. Like, why'd you call us? Like, I just need.
Next time we charge you your ass.
I just needed the boo boo.
I be in the bathroom boo boo.
Yeah, man. It was funny though. The whole time I was sitting in the bathroom, like, I'm good now. Like, I wish they would leave. Maybe if I stay in here long enough, they would leave.
So what was
going on? The whole time I'm in there, though, I can hear the radios going off like, boop, code 3, check.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what was going through your mind during the process?
They was checking in like, yeah, we're here to subject. We're standing by. Like, basically, they want to say this dude is in there boo-booing.
He taking this Hey!
The patient is boo-booing.
Smoke over there taking this I ain't gonna tell nobody else.
Yeah, so man, those were the things that I was dealing with, man. At the house by myself, freaking out. You know, and also, guess what? That's what made it worse though. Is like when you got that alone time and it's dead quiet. Yeah. I can't do nothing but sit there and think. And I'm a thinker already. I spend all day thinking about ideas, thinking about moves, thinking about everything, And so my mind, and that, that was one of the things that she asked me when I went to a therapist, whatever. She asked me, because I wanted to get a handle on it. I'm like, this is not going to be me. This is not going to be who I am. So I'm not going to sit there and ignore it. So I jumped on it and got proactive quick. So one of the things she asked me, she said, are you scatterbrained? I was like, I'm the definition of scatterbrained. Yep. Like, even when I'm reading, I'm reading, but I can be sitting there thinking about two different things, and then have to go back and reread what I read because my mind just be so. So I also been thinking about that. So I've been, started doing a little meditating and relaxing my brain, trying to stay focused. So yeah, man, that was it.
Boy, that's funny. That was.
But let's go deeper into the anxiety when we're talking about kids. And we discuss this. I always feel that social media is a number one culprit. Mm-hmm. It's too much.
Yeah, because you have to compete with everybody now. It's not like when we were kids, man. You didn't already know what Susie, Jane, Jack, Joe, and Chris was gonna wear to school the next day, and you knew you didn't have no outfit comparable.
Yeah.
Nowadays, these kids, they can literally pull up their phone because their parents are giving them access. Look, I'm not a parent. I don't have kids. I can't speak on this. Sometimes I feel like certain people's chilling because I know their parents shouldn't be letting their kids use social media. I'm just saying. But back to what I was saying. The thing about it is these kids, they're seeing this already before they even get to school the next day. So guess what they already think about overnight while they going to sleep, preparing for school the next morning. Oh, man, I'm not going to be as good as the next person because I don't even have that. Yeah. So I'm saying sometimes that just a small scenario, of how that affects their mental health, though.
Yeah.
Think about it. Well, that might give you anxiety, too,
the fact that they're taking
kid.
pictures and they posting it. Like, you got on some busted shoes. Like, oh, look at Steve's shoes. Mm-hmm. Click. Snapchat it.
Yeah.
Like, now everybody clowning on you in the comments versus when you got clowned on back in the day, you got clowned on in the moment, but after the day is over, that's kind of the end of it. Yeah. Versus social media, it becomes timeless. Yeah.
Right. Once it's on social media, bam, it's there. Now it's in the cloud.
Yeah. But also, I feel like the fact of, and real quick, let me go ahead and drop a quick plug. Go ahead and right now follow the Soul Fresh Podcast on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button. Make sure to go ahead and like this video. And also follow us on Instagram. Check us out on the Soul Fresh Podcast on Instagram. Also Facebook, the Soul Fresh Podcast.
Thank you for checking out another episode of the Soul Fresh Podcast. If you want to catch the audio version, make sure you go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want to check out the video version, make sure you head on over to YouTube. And when you get there, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and go ahead and turn on that notification bell. And in the meantime, until the next time, keep it 100, be blessed.